The Survivor Specialist, Phil and Blake are back, and today we are digging deeper into episode number 9 of Survivor 47. And a lot of the talk has been about Genevieve's move from last night, and Will and I talked about it so in depth last night. The Genevieve stands have come for me. They are coming for me, Blake, and I feel like I need to run and hide and take shelter because they are not happy with me. But that's okay because I'm happy with myself. And at the end of the day, I'd rather be me than a Genevieve stand right now because I think the heartbreak is coming for those stands. But we're really not going to talk just about the Genevieve move. We're actually going to talk about the winner paths for the final 9 players remaining in this game. How can each one of these players pull out the victory and ultimately come out as the champion and sole survivor of Survivor 47? Blake, welcome in. I guess before we get into that, I need to ask you, what do you think about last night?
Bro, what happened? It's so funny because I think I mentioned it last week. Run the tapes where I was like, legitimately, like I don't know who's going home because it feels like somebody gets mentioned like 22 minutes in, and then it's like, oh, they're screwed. And then 22 minutes into this episode, it was like, but what if we just got rid of? And by 22 minutes, I mean the 5 minutes after the 37-minute long challenge divided. So maybe the minutes don't quite add up. But it was like, what if we just got rid of Saul? And I was like, bro, how does he go home? It's just like a whim pick of like, I get the whole, oh, you voted out Rome. Everyone voted out Rome. Oh, you were targeting Rome in our small tribal on Lavo. It's like, who? It was either going to target you or Tina. Like, of course he targeted Rome. Like, it's just something where you're like, poor Saul of like, how did he go unanimously when it seemed like he was well liked? It seemed like like Rachel turning her back on him is brutal. Of like, I could not imagine, like, I don't even accept that in board games. Of like, I have been helping you get rocks and sheep this entire time, and you don't want to see me go from 5 victory points to 6 victory points without putting the thief on me 3 times. I'm never helping you again. Like, I would be one of the most bitter, but I feel like Saul's going to come around to it because he seemed pretty even keel in his goodbye messages. But it's brutal for Saul of like, it did not seem like he had a chance to win this game because he ends up on a landmine tribe. And still, when he does find like, this is my beautiful mermaid Genevieve that's going to be on my side. And it's like, actually, she's one of the mermaids from
The new
that
one?
have sharp teeth
Yeah.
that are biting
The
you, and
new
you don't.
Lionsgate Little Mermaid.
Yeah, like, jeez.
I mean, I just want to bring something up real quick so people understand you, Blake, as a person, because you said that you would not take this well. Blake taught me how to play a card game when I was at his house over the summer, and he literally pretty much played for me because I could not figure out how to play. And as he was playing for me, he made sure to make wrong moves so that he himself would end up being victorious. So, like, that's the kind of person that Blake is, and that's how important winning is to Blake. I don't feel like Saul is going to be bitter. I feel like Sierra, there's going to be a little bit of bitterness there whenever she gets to face the jury. I don't feel like Saul is going to be that bitter because ultimately, at the end of the day, it was 8-1. Now, last night, Will and I were talking about how does this get back to Genevieve? Is this ever going to get back to Genevieve? It doesn't feel like it's going to happen. But Brandon Fechter actually had a good comment on our episode last night. Did Genevieve just pull an Emily Flippin? Gabe says that's all her. She's called every shot Teeny could have popped a reverse vote, but they were scared of Rome's advantages, blah, blah, blah. So there's a bunch of stuff in there. But the biggest point of that line is Gabe does say that's all her. And so Gabe is calling out that it was Genevieve's move. And he does this. I forget who they're talking to. They might be talking to Kyle or somebody, but it's like, oh, we're going to get rid of Sue. Look at us. We're going to make a big blindside. And Gabe says that's all her to kind of throw the shade at Genevieve. We didn't mention that on last night's episode, but I do feel like that could ultimately be damaging for Genevieve if this word gets around. It's just going to matter. Look, the way I look at this is enough people are going to figure out how hard Genevieve is playing soon enough that Genevieve is not going to get to the final 3. And that's been the biggest argument that the Genevieve stands have made to me, is that, well, she gets the final 3, she's got it locked up. Well, so did Jesse. So did Rob Sesternino.
Yeah.
Like, so did a lot of people.
4 times.
Who? Sorry, yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, honestly, so did like Jonathan Penner, and he didn't finish better than what, eighth, seventh.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter if you don't get there. So let's talk about these winter paths. And St. Cliffo does confirm it was Kyle, Gabe, and Genevieve talking. Let's talk about these winter paths for everybody remaining in the game. And I think the best place to
Let's
start.
define winner path. What are you talking about? Is it they have to win, or we're trying to get them to final 3 where they have a chance to win?
No, I'm asking this question as how does everybody on this season win? What is the way that they win? And look, I'm not going to sit here and just say, well, that person can't win. No. What would they have to do? We're at final 9. There's plenty of game left to be played. We saw Erica do it. We've seen Jenna Maraska do it. We saw, you could even argue, Gabler do it. Gabler did it at final 13 and then disappeared, or final 12 and then disappeared. So I don't want to just say, this person has no shot, even though Sue has no shot. I don't want to say Sue has no shot. But I think we start with Genevieve. How does Genevieve win this game after last night's vote? Because this is the conversation. Genevieve has it's like when Lauren O'Connell played, her stands were ridiculous. Like, they were so insane. They loved Lauren. And if you said one bad thing, they'd come after you like a Swiftie.
Which is crazy because there's so many fun people to root for on that season that aren't Lauren. You would think there wouldn't be a lot of them,
I'm telling no, it was it was crazy, dude. Edge of Extinction has a great cast. It's just a bad season.
No, I'm just saying, yeah, Lauren's the clear front runner of that cast.
I just think Lauren was young, she was very attractive, and a lot of like the Twitter stands and Instagram stands were like, don't you ever hurt my perfect Lauren. But that's what it feels like with Genevieve here. Genevieve's got the biggest following right now. I feel like people really are pulling for Genevieve to win. Last night was Genevieve's move, and she pulled off what she wanted to pull off. So how does Genevieve win this season?
So I think to say why Genevieve wins the season, I'm going to take the 30 seconds of why I thought the move was pretty good last night. It feels like an indirect move of, if I eliminate a Lavo member that isn't Teeny, the people that want to work with Lavo have to work with me for the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. So it's a very like, I'm cutting off my shoulder, but I can walk to the finals now, or some kind of analogy that makes me sound smart. So I think it will be, Genevieve is going to go, okay, we got rid of Saul. I don't lose the game randomly to Saul. I don't lose to Teeny. I don't lose to Sam. I don't lose to Andy. Rachel's the only one I have to worry about in my new endgame. We're going to start getting rid of Tukus to get through the 9, 8, 7s. And then where are we at from there? Who are targets, or who has stories? And then that's where it's like, do they trust me more or not? Because I know the yellow squad is rough, does not trust each other as much as the blue squad does. So I think her stuff is get rid of the Tukus, see what's left at final 6 or 7, and then don't you trust me more? I've been on your side this whole time, because all of her blood is from like Saul and previously.
So I guess what my question is there anybody in the game right now who can beat Genevieve sitting next to her at final 3?
I think Genevieve is not only strategically sound, I think she has the benefit of the doubt of everyone really likes her, and she keeps having extremely positive stuff happen to her, and people aren't like, we got it, like, F that. Like when she got the go ahead to the next stage thing that was in the water that everyone could have found, everyone was like, good for you, Genevieve. And she hasn't won an immunity yet. She almost did once.
Her and Teeny beat Kyle, but Kyle
right. And people were like, great job. I think that's something where, okay, like you say this every time. If anybody is clapping for you when you win a reward or immunity, I'm voting you out. And it does feel like Genevieve would have people clapping for her when good stuff happened for her in the game, when it's like, that's not what we're supposed to do. So no, Genevieve, if she makes it to the final 3, she is smart enough to be like, the only person I can see taking her out is like that 3 trio of Rachel and Caroline and Genevieve. Like, somebody posted a picture of these 3, like these 3 queens are going to go at it. I don't know why Sue's not a queen and going at it, but I think those people could outmaneuver her, and I think she just has to worry about Rachel.
Well, and that's, yeah, I think the only person who can beat her at Final Three is Rachel, because I feel like Rachel's going to have friends on that jury if that ends up being a situation where it's, them sitting at the end. I think you'd probably get Andy, Sam, Sierra all voting that way. I guess what my biggest takeaway from last night's vote is, I don't think Saul, like, I talked to James Jones a lot, and he's very opinionated over on Twitter. So I love when we can get into like our discussions there. He thinks that this was a good move because Saul wrote her name down. But Saul wrote her name down so long ago. And as a viewer, there was a disconnect between when Saul wrote her name down and why she's suddenly bringing Saul's name up. She says this was a petty move. I think she uses the exact word of petty in her confessional when describing this move. Making petty moves at Final 10 is not going to win you Survivor. Now, she could win if she sits at the end, but I think she beats Saul too. And I think that Saul was a better thing for her numbers. I think that Saul, Teeny, and Genevieve rolling through this game together, at least for one more vote, probably would have been a good thing, because Saul was going to be a bigger target than
Right.
she was. A lot of people were talking about, well, she got rid of that mid-tier target. She still has the physical threats and the whatever, but Sue might have been the better person to get rid of here. Genevieve's not working with Sue ever in this game. And Sue kind of fits in that mid-tier level of like under the radar, just playing a quiet game. Nobody's ever really looking at Sue before they're looking at somebody like Genevieve. So I don't know. I feel like Genevieve has a clear path. I mean, Genevieve's path to winning this game is just get to Final Three. Her biggest obstacles now are, I don't know where her allies are. I don't know who wants to work with Genevieve. And if Gabe spreads the word that this was Genevieve's move, everybody's going to start perking their ears up saying, we should get rid of Genevieve, huh? She's kind of scary. Like, why are we letting her dictate this game?
That could be 22 minutes into the next episode
Yeah.
of Sue goes. And like, I think that what we're going to have, there's 9 people. So there's 4 Tukus. And I think that is just going to be, all right. I think this is the indirectness of that move of, we can't have 4 people in Final 8. We can't have 3 of them in Final 7.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them at Final 6 is kind of dangerous. And then the Tukus will just be toast. And like, I think based on what we've seen is like, people are going to vote out Kyle whenever he's immune. And when he's not immune, well, that didn't happen. People don't really like Gabe because he's been rubbing people the wrong way. Well, that didn't really happen. Mm-hmm. And then like, I think it'll be like, well, we tried to take out Sue, but she's so insulated, and we hear something about an idol probably. And let's vote out Caroline to weaken Sue. I can see all 3 of the Tukus going home at 9 or 8 when like, I don't know why people would target Andy at 9 or 8. They would have gotten rid of Sam if they really wanted to, back to back with Sierra. Yeah. And Rachel has an idol. So like, I don't think any of the Gata are going at 9 or 8 in how what the game has showed me.
Yeah, so let's talk about these Tukus, because I do think the Tukus have the least amount of chance of winning the game. I think Gabe, Kyle, Sue, and Caroline are probably 4 of my bottom 5 right now in terms of who can actually win the game. So let's talk about Gabe. Gabe wins immunity this week. They were talking about voting out Gabe had he lost immunity. But then based on what happened last night, I'm not so sure Gabe would have went home had he lost. I still think it might have been Saul. But with the Tukus being just 4, and with the other 5 of Rachel, Sam, Andy, Teeny, and Genevieve potentially working together. Now, granted, we can't talk about numbers because 12 people are probably going to lose their votes at the next, challenge or something. Like, who knows?
That was so fun. I love reverse Jenga.
You love watching them play
and to
Jenga,
see
right?
that
That's
on
fun.
my favorite show, 47 seasons. I've been waiting for it, reverse Jenga, to get on there.
Will defended it. Will defended it.
Great. Well, Will's dumb, so
wow, he's not even here to defend himself. You're gonna get some angry.
Got him.
Everybody, don't listen to our next episodes of Every Season Matters, because Blake's about to get roasted over the fires by Will. So,
I personal vendetta I have now.
I thought it was stupid, but we don't know how many people are gonna lose votes and all that stuff. But what is Gabe's path? Does Gabe have a path? Do you think, like, if Gabe, let's say that the Tukus somehow come out of this and they get the numbers, and it's actually like Teeny's pissed off after last week, and Teeny says, F you, Genevieve, I'm going and playing with them. I don't like you anymore. I'm playing with the Tukus. And that becomes the powerful 5 alliance. Can Gabe win over the other Tukus, or is Gabe drawing dead and Gabe is the villain of the season, even though he really hasn't been that villainous.
So I think what's interesting is we have Andy talking to Caroline a lot. Like, you ready to flip this? You ready? Are you excited? Um, Whenever they're bringing up this stuff to Andy, it's never Gabe doing that. It's kind of Gabe talks to Tuku, who talks to the extended people. So I think that's something where whenever you lose in the final three, it's because, like, oh, you gave your enforcers the information to tell everybody, and everybody's going to go, no, that was Caroline that was like getting people to switch their vote. I know Caroline didn't have a vote last night though, so maybe this is falling apart. But like, I think also whenever it's Gabe and Sue, whenever they say how close they've been this whole time, who's going to believe that when they just haven't shown it? They shown the audience months ago, like literally a month and a half ago, but it hasn't been like a storyline of like, if they were going to weaken Sue, they would vote out Caroline for it because everyone knows she's that close. If you did ask Sue, who's your number one, it almost should be Caroline anyway, but she's going to say Gabe.
Yeah.
So I think that's the only way where like Gabe gets further, the more Tuku, like, if we lose Kyle and we make a pact, we go, we'll vote out Kyle with you. Look how good we are. And now our three in the eights can work together with Andy and maybe like Teeny, because Teeny finds out that Saul was ripped from her by Genevieve. Then I do think Gabe is insulated and good to go for a deep run.
Yeah, I feel like Gabe's an interesting one. If Gabe gets the final three and the Tukus are all on the jury, I think he wins because I think every Tuku would vote for him. I think the Tukus really like him. His hands won't be dirty from having to make blindside after blindside after blindside in this game. It's going to be an 8-person jury, so then he just get one more vote. And honestly, if he's sitting there next to a couple of other people who are, not Tukus, people are going to be probably pretty pissed at those people. Like if Genevieve's sitting there, people might be pissed at Genevieve for how Genevieve got there. So I could see Gabe getting the votes. I think the hardest part for Gabe, like, it's the same story with Genevieve, right? Getting to the end is the problem. It's not so much about sitting at the end. It's getting to the end. And right now, Gabe, Kyle, Sue, and Caroline, that is a group of 4. The problem is you have a group of 4 in a tribe of 9. And everything we've seen in recent weeks has been Andy got pulled in by Genevieve and Saul. Now Saul's gone, but Andy got pulled in that way. Teeny was going up to Sam at the beginning of last episode saying, I want to work with you. Hopefully we can make this happen. And Sam says, let's play. Sam and Rachel had their moment. Sam ran immediately over to Saul. I could see the Lavos and Gattas, that group of 5, just being the final 5. That would not shock me in any way, shape, or form with how the numbers shook out. And that would mean a couple boring episodes in a row. But so
how did Reba get through Final 9? Did they use an idol or anything? Or it was just the people on the blue tribe were just, the Bellows were so after each other?
No, because that was final 12 when they split. What was final 5? Who went home? That was Kendra. Kendra went at 9.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Kendra vote was actually
that just doomed. Like,
Kendra was 6-1. That was actually final 7. So how'd they get through final 9? Kelly was 5-3. Oh no, there were no votes. So yeah, Kendra was that one, but there were 2 people who didn't vote. Isn't that fun?
So I think there needs to be some kind of wonkiness to, if there's any kind of wonkiness, I would be like, nobody on Tuku can take the no votes or whatever. And I do think that's a negative about the new era, obviously, is like, you're supposed to be able to outwit people with just your brain.
Yeah.
Not, well, I'm the first one who raced to the buoy, so I get a takeaway vote, and then this really cool final 9 vote that we've been leading up to just gets kind of obsoleted because I have the takeaway vote and I'm going to take it from my target, who is Rachel, bye Rachel. And then she's like, bye Rachel.
Yeah.
Are you trying to say biracial? Because here's my idol. Bye to my Rachel's enemies.
It's like showing up to a duel and one person gets to load their 6-shooter with 6 bullets and you get 1.
Right.
The person with 6 is probably going to win that duel because the person with 1 doesn't even know if their 1 is the one that's in the chamber. And I feel like that's what's happening on this. Like when you keep losing votes. So Gabe, we'll talk. I think at the end of this, after we talk through everybody's path, we can just be like real quick, how do you rank them? But Gabe's path is just he's got to have the Tukus be on the right side. And I think that's going to be the same situation for everybody here. Because when we talk about Kyle, I think Kyle's almost in the exact same path as Gabe.
I would say Kyle has the least amount because
of chance or the
unfortunately
least amount of resistance.
least amount of chance to make it to the end to win the game
Mm.
because my friend Kyle has maybe one immunity win left before it's like we're going to get rid of you no matter what. And I think when somebody goes on a win streak, everyone kind of knows like either you're sandbagging or like, wow, these are really bad challenges for you, but how many times can this happen where I don't see Kyle getting to 6 because the first time he's done now will be like, well, now it's time to, like if
St.
Kyle
Clifford says Kyle's path involves breaking the immunity record.
Which is interesting because I like Kyle and it does seem like whenever it was time to get rid of Rome, he did just throw it around of like, let's just get rid of him. It's just who is the most likely, like everybody's been tired of this person for weeks that Kyle could use as a get out of free card if he loses immunity? Or like, could he say, look at these people on the jury, they're going to vote for Sam over me. Why would you get rid of me? And then everyone does the dumb thing and then takes him past 6-5. And then he's like, okay, perfect. I won 5 and 4 and I'll be there at the end.
I mean, what's very interesting about Kyle's game is last night, a lot of people were saying, how do you not vote for Kyle? How do you not vote for Kyle? How do you not vote for Kyle? And I said this last week. The thing with Kyle is he's not going to win 9 immunities. There's a reason 5 is the record. And granted, Terry and Tom played on seasons with smaller individual challenges. Like there weren't as many individual challenges, a lesser amount. But still, there's a reason 5 is the record. Brad Culpepper had a lot of immunity challenges that he could have won, and he didn't win more than 5. 5 is a very hard number to beat. He's already got 3. And now you have to get from final 11 all the way to final 4. Because then at final 4, you can just make fire, right? So he's got to go 7 more. And that's why I think it was the right move to not get rid of him last night. I think he can get by this time. But when he gets to final 9 and he gets to final 8, he's got to win both of those. And honestly, at final 7, he might have to have an idol in his damn back pocket. So I agree with St. Cliffo. I do think that Kyle would have to break the immunity record to be able to get the final 3. Now, if Kyle gets the final 3, I think he beats Gabe if he's sitting next to Gabe. I don't know if he beats Genevieve, but I think Kyle has a very, very strong case if he actually gets to final 3. But to get to final 3, he's got to go on a Colby run. That's literally the only way he's doing it. Mike Holloway. That's it.
Man. And I do think what's so cool is when you go look at like all the individual tribal fake groups, Kyle has only really lost like 2 times the whole season of like when we voted out TK and then like last night or something crazy like that.
Yeah, but last night is what he wanted because he was worried it was going to be him. Oh, you're talking about to actually be eligible to go home?
Or no, just like he's won like every reward or gotten first or second place. And like, it was just, somebody was pointing that out where it was like, Kyle maybe he's going to go after Boo for having the best challenge.
But Boo is tied with Tom. Boo doesn't have the record. He's tied with Tom.
But Boo is cooler than Tom and whatever. Boo Burness, bring him back for 50. Okay, next person, Caroline.
Caroline, I think, has the best path out of the Tukus. And that might seem crazy to people because we haven't seen much of her. But I feel like Caroline has ins with everybody. And Caroline is playing a really good game of, nothing bothers me. You're so good at everything. Oh my God, you're doing so great. Good for you. And I feel like at final 3, she'd be like, I just hyped everybody up. And I let everybody take the credit because that's what you had to do to get further in the game. And I think she'd be able to make an argument at final 3 that would be a convincing argument. I think she has a better case than most of the Tukus if she's able to get there, because I think her social game is going to be the best one out of all of them. I think that people like Rachel, people like Teeny, people like Genevieve would vote for Caroline to win this game if Caroline gets to the end. I think Sierra would vote for Caroline to win if she gets to the end. Again, how does she get there? Well, the Tuku numbers, even though they have 4 people, don't seem to be lining up. But out of all of the Tukus, like let's say what you were saying happens. At final 9, a Tuku goes. At final 8, a Tuku goes. At final 7, a Tuku goes. At final 6, Caroline will be the Tuku remaining. And then Caroline can start to play the game. Because we're doing Every Season Matters right now. Danny Boatwright, Terry Dietz. Like, these are the people, Chris Doherty. look, one of them didn't win. One of them finished third place. The other two
Caroline
won.
Boatwright Dietz enters
Dude,
the game at Final 7 and
I'm just
takes it.
saying, this is when, if you're the last one remaining from a tribe that gets wiped, you can do it. Now, look, if that tribe doesn't get wiped and Tuku plays somehow from a dominant position, Caroline's my front runner. Caroline's my front runner because I think Caroline would get to final 3. And if Caroline gets final 3, I've talked about Gabe and I've talked about Kyle, how they could get votes. But Caroline will get more than the "we just like you" vote. I think Caroline is playing a subtle, sly game. And honestly, Genevieve should be more worried about Caroline. She should have been than Saul, because Saul was going to work with her. Caroline's not going to. And I think Genevieve got a little too hung up in the fact that Lavo existed. And had she not thought so much about Lavo, I think that she probably would have seen that Caroline might be the biggest threat to her game. But still, an uphill battle for Caroline to get there. But I think out of all of the Tuku, she has the best shot.
The only thing that I can see Caroline getting, oops, didn't see that one coming, was like anybody realizes that Sue has the red paint and the idol that comes with the red paint, and they're going, well, we got to get rid of Sue. And then somebody's like, what if Sue has the idol?
Yeah.
And then they go, well, I know Caroline doesn't. And Sue seems like she wouldn't play it on Caroline no matter how close they are. And then Sue gets all that thing that you just said of, now that the last Tuku member is all by themselves, we're not going to touch them. Like, Sue, you can just sit over there and win immunities or like talk to us and whatever. But I don't know. Like, whose story is that going to be if we get rid of the final Tuku? I don't think it'll be Kyle. I don't think it'll be Gabe. So it's either Caroline or Sue. And like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you think Sue has game the other way of like maybe she is the new D Villardes of like, take her alliance and get through this somehow. Like, I do think Sue should probably use her idol at final 9 to sniff it out and figure out which Tuku she saves. Because if they get another Lavo or Gata out and it's 4-4, like,
Now it's open to anybody. Yeah.
now they just trick Andy one more time. It feels like Andy's going to get tricked 3 more times before he's done. And like, now, oh, we're going to go like, Tuku just beat everyone, and it was so embarrassing for some of these people because they seem like really good players. But Genevieve gave him the whole game at 10 when she got rid of Saul. Like, that could very well happen.
Yeah. I also feel like, so, that's kind of getting into Sue's. So let's talk about Sue's. For Sue to win, everybody, like, I think Sue's drawing dead. I don't think she wins at all. The last 3 episodes, we've barely heard from her. Like, I think she's screwed. But if Sue's going to win, the idol needs to be played successfully. And I'm going to be honest. I think for any Tuku to win, the idol needs to be played successfully. If this idol gets played successfully, it can actually turn the numbers in this game.
When's the last time we've seen an idol played successfully again?
I don't remember.
Literally 3 seasons ago or 2 seasons ago at this point.
I don't remember. But all I do know is I feel like the idol has to be played successfully. And for Sue to win, Sue has to play it successfully so she has something to talk about at Final Tribal. Because right now she has nothing to talk about at Final Tribal.
She's 45 and won a challenge.
We all know that storyline does not matter. Julie Rosenberg got no votes. Carolyn got no votes. I know Carolyn's younger than that, so it's not like she's not nearly that old. But like, that underdog female story does not work at Final Tribal Council. I don't think a woman has ever won the game just for saying, here's my
I'm a neat lady. You don't like those?
It never happens. It never happens. So I feel like Sue has to play the idol correctly. And then even if she plays the idol correctly, I think she still has her work cut out for her. Although I did think it was interesting last night that they were talking about how she's the most insulated, which is why they wanted to boot her.
That is interesting, because when people are metagaming in front of cameras like that, what does that mean for your chances?
Yeah.
Of like, because it's not like, if they're complimenting her at final 10, they can't use that as a negative if Sue makes it to final 3. But I do think that happens more often than not, of like, you were so insulated, you didn't play a more proactive game like Caroline had to. And you're like, oh,
and Carolyn was the exact example of that. You were so close with Carson and Jam Jam, you let them do everything. It's like, okay, but that was my plan, and that's how I got here.
Right. Freaking crazy. Okay, so time for some yellows. Sam.
I actually think Sam is in a better spot than I thought he was going to be. Last night's episode was pretty damn good for Sam, despite everything. And despite him going and blowing up the spot of the entire tribe who wanted to vote out Saul, he still came out looking okay. Nobody was throwing his name around. Nobody said, wow, Sam blew that up. We got to vote Sam out. Rachel said, I probably shouldn't have told Sam, but that was the extent of that. So Sam's going to have friends on the jury. You know, Sierra's already over there. That's one vote. Andy might vote for him. If Rachel's sitting over there, Rachel might
tried to
vote for him.
save Saul. He's the only person who told Saul the real
Saul vote
facts.
for him. And so that's going to be a very, very interesting situation of Sam. And the other thing that's working in Sam's favor is, while he's a physical threat, he's not Kyle or Gabe. Kyle and Gabe are the ones who have worn the necklace. And Kyle and Gabe are in the biggest tribe that's left, meaning the 4 Tukus. So if you're looking to vote somebody out, Kyle or Gabe come before Sam. And then if you're looking to vote out Agata because you're starting to get worried about what's going on with the strategy, maybe Andy comes first. Maybe Rachel comes first. Also, Rachel's got this idol sitting over here. Would Rachel ever play her idol for Sam? Probably not, but maybe. So I think that
Rachel is like the quintessential, she has an idol, but she's going to do the smartest thing. Like,
yeah, exactly. And she might never get an opportunity to play it for herself, but if she plays it for Sam and saves Sam, now nobody's going to vote for Sam over her if they sit next to each other at Final 3 because she's the reason Sam is sitting there.
Right. Like, I think there's some idol play coming.
Yeah.
And I think when they're telling us, I know this is Sam's portion, but unfortunately Rachel exists. Like,
unfortunately,
sorry, Sam, we got to talk about Rachel in your.
Oh my God, you're over here. You hate graphic designers.
No. God dang it. I didn't mean to. Rachel's going to use her, like, if somebody's going to use their idol successfully, based on the edit so far, it's going to be Rachel over Sue. Yeah. So that's why I'm so like the Lavos and the Gatas are going to get over this hump, I think, because I think they were like 3-3-4. We could lose one more and then we're locked in is literally my thesis statement. And I think they'll be locked because when it comes down to, oh crap, Rachel uses her idol more successfully than Sue does. And then Sam needs to beat Rachel in fire making or in an immunity and get her out at 5 and 4. But like, when he does get to the end with Genevieve and Rachel at 5, you can't get rid of both of them.
Yeah.
And one of those people will win or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Sam has to navigate this very carefully because Sam doesn't have power right now. So Sam has to get power. He has to not be saved by somebody else, obviously, to the jury.
Right.
And he has to still get to the end with the right people. But there is a path.
And then Andy wins anyway because Andy's winning the season.
See, and here's my deal. I feel like Andy doesn't have much of a path. Because I just feel like at the end of the day, there will always be somebody sitting next to Andy at Final 3 that people are going to respect the game of more and want to give the votes to. I just have a hard time. Because Andy has a clear path to the Final 3 right now, right? Like he has a clear path. He's got the Gatas.
Why
he's
would
got
anybody
Sam, he's got Rachel.
Vote out Andy right now?
Yeah, he's got Teeny. He's got Genevieve. He's not in the Tukus. Everybody's willing to let Andy keep going through, and Andy feels like he has a little bit of power. But how does Andy make the pitch at Final Tribal Council against whoever he's sitting next to? Who does he beat? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. John Millsap says the weirdest segment of the episode last night was the reminder of Rachel and Andy's relationship early in the game. I thought that was weird too. Does that mean that Andy's going to ultimately get one over on Rachel, or is Rachel going to get one over on Andy? And so Sierra's not voting for Andy. Sam's not voting for Andy. Saul's not voting for Andy. Who is voting for Andy, and who does he have to sit next to win?
I'm voting for Andy. It's America's vote.
I guess this is the better question. What does Andy need to do to change the perception so people will vote for him at the end?
I think he's screwed. I think when people go up to you and you go, do you want to eat some of the most scrumptious cake ever? They're treating you like you're 8 years old. And that's what they're doing with, would you entice yourself with a delicious blindside tonight, Andy? And you go, tell me more.
Yeah.
Like they don't think of you as like if they thought you were leading the game, they would be like, I'm going to say something to you and I don't want it going anywhere.
Yeah.
but that's not how they're talking to you. I think people are choosing their words carefully to do that. And like Andy, I love your story. It's going somewhere, but is it a 0 vote finalist story? Is it a I'm got second place and it blew everyone's mind that I got more votes than I thought I would, and now you're coming back for 50? So we're editing this for your 50 journey, because that could be a thing. Who knows? But can Andy win Survivor after that first day? And I think it's a, are we trying to embarrass Andy, or are we trying to have put him as the best Survivor
I think
story of all
he's
time?
getting the story arc, right? Like this story is being told through his eyes. I just don't see him winning. And I know like Will has him as one of the front runners. A lot of people, Edgic has him as the front runner. A lot of people think that Andy's going to win the season.
Right.
Willie D over here thinks that Andy's going to win this season. I just truly believe.
Can he make fire?
I don't know.
Is he the
I don't know.
fire guy?
But I feel like Andy is going to fall just short. People are going to
Fire.
make the argument that he could have won,
Fire.
kind of like
Got it.
Carson. But Carson wasn't going to beat Jam Jam at Final Three.
Carson sucks.
He wasn't going to beat Jam Jam at Final Three.
He's not gonna beat yeah.
So I could see that happening here. I don't think he's going to be the 0 vote finalist though, because I don't think he's going to make the finals. But his path is he needs to take control, and he's in a position to take control. And if he takes enough control, and if he stops getting in his own head, right? Because people are saying he's like David Wright. David Wright is a confident dude. David Wright is so confident, he'll make you think he's not confident. That's what's crazy about David Wright, right? He's very self-deprecating. David Wright is a very, very well-spoken guy. Andy loses confidence very easily on this season. When he's in power, he's very cocky. When he's out of power, he's struggling. And I think that he needs to make sure he stays in power, and he's got to make the speech at the end, but he's got to do it in a likable way that people aren't going to just be like, Andy, why did you vote me out? And he like kind of mocks them, and then they say, I don't want to give you the money because I don't like you. That's what he needs to be careful of. So he has a path for sure. He's probably got a better path than Sue. Probably got a better path than Kyle. But
and he has better path than the last person we haven't mentioned.
Well, we haven't talked about Rachel or Teeny.
Oh, shoot. I forgot. Well, let's do Teeny first, because that's what I just...
Yeah. You don't think Teeny has a shot?
Bro. Teeny. I think she is going to be... This is the Sia Award winner, if that existed still. She is such a blight in this game. She's so fun. She's just bouncing around. She's literally getting hit by like washing machines thrown at her, and like
literally.
everything bad has happened to her in this game, but she's still like, we're just gonna push forward. She's had zero agency. Like nobody has asked her for like dominant vote. They were gonna do the sol vote without her. That's another negative for Teeny. It just doesn't feel like Teeny is, we can take her out at 5, like getting drags, and like I feel like she's Andy, but without the considerations of we need to keep Teeny happy so she doesn't flip on us. Like Teeny's coming back for 50 because she's so happy-go-lucky, and we love this.
Teeny is falling into the Jake Owen situation. Nothing is going right for Teeny, and Teeny cannot get footing in this game. And because Teeny can't get her footing in this game, it's making it so that even she gets to Final 3, no matter how much people like her, they're not going to vote for her. Like, remember,
like Xander or something,
yeah,
too. Like,
most of the Game Changers cast loves Troyzan. Troyzan got 0 votes in that Final 3. Sitting next to two people that the jury didn't necessarily like nearly as much as they like Troyzan. But Troyzan wasn't able to get his footing and never had to make big moves, and so they didn't give him the vote. And that's where I'm starting to go.
And Troyzan too.
I love Troyzan. Get out of here. But I feel like with Teeny right now, I thought winner. Now I'm starting to think potentially we're looking at the 0 vote finalist in Teeny. I could see that. And it's not because of a bad gameplay. I say all the time, Owen, Jake, who else? Who was 42? Xander. These are people who could win many seasons of Survivor. However, you get on the wrong season where things don't go your way and there's nothing you can do.
I mean, getting third place on your wrong season isn't half bad, but
Yeah.
I do think when you're like, Teeny, did you lead the Rome vote?
Nope.
Teeny, you weren't a part of the Tiana thing. We
Or
can't
the
even
Keyshawn
pretend that,
vote.
or the Keyshawn vote.
You voted
Um,
Saul just because everybody else voted Saul, but you didn't want to get rid
right.
of Saul.
You didn't on Sierra's time. You wanted Sam gone, so that didn't work out for you. And you can't start nailing people at 9
You
and have
can.
people think that you're in charge.
Here's the thing, though. Here's Teeny's path, in my opinion. If Teeny realizes that Genevieve made this move, and Teeny's able to figure out how to take control of this game now, this episode, Teeny can still win because Teeny's got the social game and she's well liked, incredibly well liked by everybody out there. Teeny can still win to get to the end and sit next to the right people if she starts making the moves now. But she's got to be the one who cuts Genevieve. She's got to be the one who boots Rachel. She's got to be the one who gets rid of these people. It can't be I was a part of it. She has to be the one who's doing it.
She has to be like next to Andy and Sam.
Andy and Sue, she wins.
So maybe that's what people start figuring out. And like, speaking of people figuring stuff out, the last person is Rachel, and
she's gonna win. How mad are you?
In my Big Brother stuff, I was like, the only person I know who's going home early, she ended up winning the season. And so for maximum embarrassment, Rachel's going to win because she's the only person I was like, no, she sucks. She's not going anywhere.
I think the exact word was graphic designers are useless. I hate Rachel. I don't know why she's out there. This was after maybe you watched the video. You definitely read at least 2 sentences.
I just read the bio for 25 seconds. Graphic designers, they can put things into bins correctly, and she's putting threats into bins. She's putting possible allies into bins correctly. And you know what? She's gonna really do this. Okay, so for real though, she has an idol. Mm-hmm. She has. Why did they explain her shot in the dark thing? Because
that was huge, man.
Because when people see that, if you're a casual fan, you're like, well, that didn't work, dummy. But it was, I played my shot in the dark to see if I needed to play my idol. Saul gives her the
protection.
You're all clear, so she doesn't do it. She brutally backstabs Saul, in my opinion. And so that, I think, shows the killer instinct. So you have game knowledge, you have killer instinct, you have an idol. If somebody was to go from Gata first, they probably still would vote Sam out first. So I think she's like at final 9, she has all the recipe for, well, I'll be in the final 5. I don't know who else is going to be there.
Here's what's crazy. Nobody knows she has her idol.
Right.
She's going to get to play that at some point successfully. That's going to be the game-winning move for her. She is going to play a successful idol at some point in this season, and that's how she's going to win this game. She has the social game. She has the strategic game. She has the edit. The editors literally put in the best player on this season, okay? So you can all stop attacking me. They put in the best player on this season, Genevieve, saying that Rachel is the most dangerous person out there. So if Genevieve, who is the best player on this season, okay, stop coming for me. If she's the best player on the season and she is saying that's the most dangerous person in the game, that means that's the most dangerous person in the game. She's getting the protection edit, which we just saw. I think she has the clearest path. Her name is not coming up in the same way as other names. There's bigger fish to fry. Eventually, you have to start getting rid of the immunity threats because you don't want somebody to win the last 4 and have that be fresh in people's minds on the jury. So you're going to start getting rid of those types of people. Teeny, Caroline, Genevieve, Rachel, those are 4 people who are very similar in their, mindsets, even-keeled, whatever. I think we're at the point where Rachel has the clearest path. She has moves to make. She's got her finger in so many different pies that eventually somebody is going to say, you're in trouble tonight. And she's going to say, oh no, what do I do? And I can see Amanda Kimmel spinning it around on her finger going, I didn't have it when I said I did.
That was a game-winning moon for Amanda Kimmel.
I mean, hey, if Amanda Kimmel knew how to talk at Final Tribal Council, it would have been. And guess who?
Two-time winner.
Guess who knows how to talk at a Final Tribal Council? I think Rachel's going to do a hell of a job. And I think Rachel's going to know how to pinpoint because fortunately for Rachel, she's gotten to see Amanda Kimmel fail twice. So that's good for her. I think Rachel has the clearest path out of everybody. I don't even feel like it's that hard to figure out where
Your
it is. I think she has
wife's
the clear
name is
path.
Rachel, though. You're biased. I don't like graphic designers, so I'm biased. So I get it. We're stuck in the middle here, but I do think the idea of we're tired of you guys complaining about our edits for winners.
Mhm.
Like they gave us the auction back, but
Yeah.
with some stuff. So I think they're like, we're gonna just hit you over the head with it this time.
Yeah.
Like, why does she? And like, if truly, why did they show us the Andy thing? If Andy is put in a position at 7 or 6 of does he choose Gata or his new crew, and he goes back to Gata because Rachel says something, then it's like, oh, this is a wrap. Like,
Mhm.
that's the moment between the idol and what she does with Andy is what I would go change your like survivor pool with work. Go grab, take Andy out of your winner pick and put Rachel.
Mhm. It's starting to feel like Rachel's got this. Like, got it.
Gotta. She's
Got
got
it.
to win,
She's
bro.
got it
Which
so
sucks
much.
because it's like I was on the Sam Sierra train, so I was just on the wrong Gatas. Sierra going was crazy. I do think the moment too of like, if you're a survivor producer, unfortunately you get punched in the gut a lot. But like Rachel getting saved during the like clearly she's gonna go home during that Tuku thing and making it all the way to the end and winning would be like the idea of we had a successful twist. Let's all pat ourselves on the back.
Mhm.
And that's some like behind the scenes production being like, we can do this still, and we're a good team.
So I'm gonna rank them real quick before we end this of worst to first of who I think has the best chance of the easiest path to least easy.
This is
Or
not a boot order. This is a least
yeah, least
possible
likely to
winning.
win. Least likely to
Cool.
win at this point. Number 9, I have Sue. Number 8, I have Kyle. Number 7, I have Andy. 6, I have Gabe. 5, I have Sam. 4, I have Teeny. 3, I have Genevieve. So even though I feel like Genevieve might have screwed herself last night, I still think she has a path. 2, I have Caroline, which is kind of crazy to me, but I feel like because she's going to be the last remaining Tuku that's there, and I think Rachel is your front runner right now.
All right, let's talk about social capital.
Yeah, let's do this. We got worth playing for throwing in a
bro. If you want,
a super chat.
I'll
Ready
talk
to
about
end.
anything. If you say $9.99, bro, this is the most exciting moment of my life.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I will put myself behind the 8 ball for the remainder of the day to answer this question. Andy said he used up some social capital to save Sam over Sierra. Can you guys talk about the idea of social capital, how you can get more, and what happens when you run out? What do you think about this with Andy? Did he use social capital here? Or do you think that this was a little? What do you think?
I do like that Andy is introducing this because I think it's an understood, understated thing about the game. Because hey guys, I don't really want Sierra to go, and like he could be lying. It could not have been. Or I don't really want Sam to go. He could be lying. It could not really be true. But him saying that to Sam, like that's now Sam's perception. So the ideal social capital in my mind is like you can get your way because we're all working together. You just can't get your way. If you get your way 2 times in a row, you got to give 2 times back. And if anybody's trying to get their way 3 times in a row, then you're going to be like, we're going to vote you out because you're not really a person.
And I feel like Andy's the kind of person who could run out of social capital quickly because he wants everything to go his way all the time. And people are eventually going to be like, no, Andy, we're done with that.
Right. Also, I do want to say, how the hell did Teeny get to 4? Like Teeny's like 8 or 7 in mine.
You think so? I just think Gabe, Andy, Sue, and Kyle. I literally don't see them getting votes. I don't see Gabe or Kyle getting to the end. I don't see Andy or Sue getting votes over literally anyone. And then I just feel like Teeny has an easier time getting to the end than Sam does. That's why. Really, it comes down to the fact of once I put that in order, I realized Rachel's really the only one who has a shot right now.
Oh my god. Okay, so how can you get more social capital? I think you do the we'll vote out who you want as long as it's not me. I'm not gonna say as long as it's not me though. I'm gonna go. I think Genevieve equally parts use some social capital, but gets some back of like I just got rid of Saul, and the people that don't know she was the leader on that are gonna go like, well, we don't want to mess up Genevieve because we just voted out a Lavo. And what happens when you run out? When you run out, you get eliminated.
Yeah.
Like I do think that's what's coming for Andy. Of like, okay, we said, hey man, you want to do some crazy blindsides? We know how much he loves it, and now that we're kind of over that and building our finals crew, like we'll just vote him out because we don't need him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Who's your favorite social capital user in Survivor history?
In Survivor history?
Yeah.
Oh man, dude, that's a hard question. I got to even think about what social capital is. I mean, like who used their? I mean, it's probably Suri. Everything Suri did was
Shree's
social
so
capital.
cool, man. Bring back
Everything
Suri
did was
for
social capital,
48.
right? For
Yeah.
48. All right. I do actually have to go. So let's go. I want to
Okay,
just be
well,
done 12
we'll
minutes.
finish some social capital next time on your after show,
I have to go record the after show so that then I can actually go to work. Thank you all so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Like and subscribe. Next Thursday night, when we do our next Digging Deeper, we'll be live with Brandon Donlin at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. This weekend, I'm live with Todd Herzog at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on
shit.
Sunday. So I got 2 massive podcasts coming up. And then somewhere in between those 2 podcasts is a recap with Will, which I'm sure will go well. So I got a lot going on. Exciting week for me. An exciting week for Blake. He gets to talk to his best friend again. He loves talking to Brandon. So this is going to be fun. He's been so excited.
Is Todd giving you the Funko Pop that looks like you tomorrow?
No. But if I win the fantasy game, which right now, I don't know if everybody remembers
You're
this, but I have
crushing everyone.
6 people left. 6 of the 9 people. It's insane. I can't believe my team.
I don't think I'll make it to your points, even if I have the winner.
No, you won't.
I'm 400.
I think I won. Behind. I think I'm the only person remaining who has everybody still left. So that means I have so much overlap, even with the people who are behind me, that even if I start losing people, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference.
Do we make people lock in their 6, or can they?
No, they
come in and out
at the beginning of the season, and that's it.
Oh, okay. I thought we were the only ones doing that.
No. We just have to. We have a smaller pool to pick from. They can pick any of the 18. We have to pick against each other.
Jaybird, you should be winning, bro. What the heck?
How the hell am I winning this? This is insane. That's how bad you and Will are.
All right.
Bye, everybody. Ending.